Do you suffer with chronic pain, low energy, IBS, restless leg syndrome, poor sleep, fibro fog, anxiety, depression, migraine headaches? If you do, then you're going to want to tune in and listen to everything I'm going to share with you tonight. This could be one of the most important 30 minutes you've ever spent here tonight, because I'm going to share with you the 4 must things that you have to do if you want to have an opportunity to greatly reduce your fibromyalgia symptoms. Hi, this is Dr. Rodger Murphree, author of Treating and Beating Fibromyalgia Chronic Fatigue Syndrome, YourFibroDoctor.com. I have specialized in treating and beating fibromyalgia for the last 20 years. And what I've learned over the last 20 years there are certain things that you've got to do in a certain order in order to be able to have an opportunity to feel good again. And really what you want to do is not just feel good for a day or two, but get healthy so you feel good for a month or 6 months or a year. And there's a process that has to happen to make this whole thing come about. Working with literally thousands of patients over the last 2 decades, I've learned the hard way what works and what doesn't work. Oftentimes, patients are trying to put the cart in front of the horse. They're doing things that really are not going to make a difference, at least not long term. They may be taking prescription medications, which are treating symptoms, but not the causes. They may be taking supplements that are not really doing anything other than creating expensive urine. So what you want to do tonight is give me your undivided attention and let me share with you the 4 really key things that you got to get right. And if you'll do these things, I'm telling you, you're going to see a difference in how you feel. You're going to tell a difference in how you sleep. You're going to tell a difference in your energy, your IBS. But all these things are connected. You know, with fibromyalgia, they're going to tell you that you just have to learn to live with it. I don't believe you need to learn to live with it. I don't think anybody needs to learn to live with fibromyalgia. I mean, that's not living, that's existing. My whole purpose for the last 2 decades has been to educate others about how they can get healthy and stay healthy. And so tonight, what I'm going to do with you is share with you what I call the jumpstart process. And I use the analogy that we're all born with a stress coping savings account. And in that stress coping savings account, we have certain chemicals that allow us to deal with stress. So all day long, we're under stress. You know, traffic, loud noises, bright lights, deadlines, kids, grandkids, spouses, paying bills, whatever it is. I mean, we have stress all day long. But for most people, we have a very large stress coping savings account that we're born with. And so throughout the day, we can make withdrawals of these stress coping chemicals that allow us to deal with stress. However, if you get under too much stress for too long, what you see is you start to deplete these stress coping chemicals until eventually you actually bankrupt your stress coping savings account, and we call that fibromyalgia. Now that can be years of stress that finally adds up, and then there's a straw that breaks the camel's back. Maybe it's a surgery, maybe it's an illness, maybe it's the loss of a loved one, maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's you just come to the breaking point working 60 hours a week. Whatever it is, something comes along and you're never the same again. Then you get this name called fibromyalgia, which that's all it is. It's a name. It's a name given to a group of symptoms that we call fibromyalgia, but fibromyalgia doesn't cause anything. Fibromyalgia is just a name. What we want to know is what are the causes of your low energy? What are the causes of your pain? What's the causes of your poor sleep? What's the cause of your IBS? And one of the things that sets this off, all those symptoms, is depleting your stress coping savings account. Because in that account, you should have chemicals like serotonin, which is your happy hormone, dopamine, norepinephrine, gets you energy, drive, zip, ambition. You should have cortisol, which allows you to be able to handle stress, stamina stress. You should have chemicals in there like magnesium that's in 300 different body processes that allows you to be able to handle stress. It provides cellular energy. It helps relax tight, achy muscles as well as tight colons. If you're constipated, have IBS, It's a super, super important mineral. And so you have these vitamins and minerals in the stress coping savings account, but when you get under too much stress, you deplete that until eventually you bankrupt it. Now, one of the ways, and probably the most important way, that you make deposits into your stress coping savings account is by going into deep restorative sleep. And for those with fibromyalgia, that's rarely the case. Most of you don't get restorative sleep. Many of you are taking sleep medications that are actually making your condition worse. We know that from the research that taking a sleep medication increases your risk of death by 500%. Now, I'm not telling you to stop your medication tonight. Please don't do that. But I encourage you to become informed and then work with a doctor like myself that can help you get on a natural protocol to allow you to start to feel better, get healthier, and then and only then would I, if you're working with me, help you to wean off these medications. But don't stop your medications. Everything I share with you tonight can be taken along with your medications until you start working with someone like myself. Well, so you want to get deep restorative sleep. And what happens, what compromises your sleep? Well, a big part of that, you become deficient in a very key stress coping chemical called serotonin. Serotonin is the happy hormone. And when you get under stress, what you see is your serotonin level goes down lower, because you need it to help calm you down. You need it to be able to handle stress. But if you're not getting deep restorative sleep, you're not making deposits of serotonin into your stress coping savings account. So because of that, you wake up every day and you're under a tremendous amount of stress, and you find that stress becomes even more magnified. You can't really handle things that you used to be able to handle. Now, some of you are taking selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors or antidepressants. Those medications don't make serotonin. They only help you hang on to what serotonin you have. But if you're taking a gasoline additive to help you hang on to the gasoline that you have, but you're running on fumes, it's not going to do anything. So if you're taking an antidepressant to help you hang on to the serotonin that's there, and there's none there, as we say in the South, it ain't going to do anything. It ain't going to work. It doesn't work. Taking a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor like Prozac or Celexa or Cymbalta or Lexapro or Brintellix, there's going to be a new one out tomorrow. There's a new one every week, right? Those medications have been shown to be no better than a sugar pill in 70% of the studies out there. So they have, ironically, some of the symptoms, side effects of those are diffuse achy muscle pain, anxiety, depression, poor sleep, brain fog, weight gain, lethargy. No one wants that. Now, again, don't stop your medications, but there's a better way. So for the last 20 years, I have been using natural protocols that I've perfected working with patients, this thing called the Murphree method. And it's high doses, but the right doses and combinations of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids, taken in the right way, put together, formulated in a special way that when you take these things that I've developed over the years, you see a change. There's a lot of great supplements out there, but you take them and you never feel a difference. That's not the case with the Murphree method, the Jumpstart protocol that I've put together. Now, it's a lot of trial and error that went into this, years and years and years. But by doing it this way, you're going to see a difference because it's the way it's just got to happen. The first thing is deep restorative sleep. You got to build up your serotonin. Now, one of the ways I'm going to tell you to do that is I'm going to encourage you to take 5-hydroxytryptophan. 5-hydroxytryptophan is an amino acid. You can get it over the counter. I recommend that you be particular about who you get it from. The 5-HTP that I have made for me, that I use with my patients, is Peak X free. That means it has no contaminants in there. It's tested to make sure that doesn't happen. Peak X can cause some problems, not to scare you, but again, your supplements you're taking are only as good as and only going to work as well is the quality of that supplement. So if you're taking something and you're not really sure if it's good or not, and it doesn't work, how are you going to know if it's any good? Well, you're not. So my patients, when I'm working with them, I get them to take certain supplements because I know they work based on 20 years of using them. And if they don't work, and they don't always work, but if they don't work, I know it's not because of the supplements. I know it's because just for them, they're going to have to do something different. Whereas most people will go to GNC or Target or wherever, or Walgreens or Rite Aid, and they'll get something off the shelf, and if you don't even know what's in there. The studies show that in 70% of the case, when they analyze these supplements from these different big branded stores, they don't even have the ingredients in there, so it's kind of scary. I mean, you got to be, buyer beware. But I want to encourage you to get 5-HTP, and this is how you want to take it. You want to take it 30 minutes before bed on an empty stomach with just a little bit of grape juice. It doesn't take much, maybe an ounce mixed with water. You take it with grape juice because that grape juice, when you drink it, that sugar, it causes your body to release insulin, and the insulin will pull the 5-HTP across the blood-brain barrier, which is a barrier that keeps toxins from getting in the brain, and it'll allow it then to get in the brain to start to make serotonin. It will increase your natural sleep hormone, melatonin, by 200%. So it's going to help you get deep restorative sleep. Now, the thing about 5-HTP you need to realize is it combined with certain B vitamins, magnesium, and other amino acids and other products that are in, other nutrients that are in the CFS Fibro formula that I put together years ago. That combination makes serotonin. Okay, so rather than taking a gasoline additive, rather than taking an antidepressant with all kind of potential side effects, you can just take the 5-HTP and you can take the CFS Fibro formula, and now you're pouring serotonin into your brain. You're giving your brain, you're filling it up with serotonin. And what you need to realize is the higher your serotonin level, the higher your pain threshold, which means you have less pain. It's pretty good, right? The higher your serotonin level, the higher your pain threshold, which means you have less pain. The higher your serotonin level, the more mentally sharp you are, so it helps with fibro fog. The higher your serotonin level, the happier you are, the less anxious you are. It's the calming hormone. The higher your serotonin level, the less likely you are to have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. You have more serotonin receptors in your intestinal tract than you do in your brain. So when you get nervous, where do you get butterflies? You get them in your stomach, right? That's because the serotonin in your stomach initiates that. But what happens over the years, when you deplete serotonin, you deplete it in your brain, but you also deplete it in your stomach, in your GI system. So you start to develop IBS, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But the first thing I want you to concentrate, you've got to get deep restorative sleep. If you don't get deep restorative sleep, you're never going to feel better, because when you don't get deep restorative sleep on a consistent basis, then you see that you increase your inflammatory chemicals, your pain-causing chemicals, by 40%. Obviously, if you're not sleeping well at night, you're going to be tired the next day. We know the studies show that it compromises your metabolism, so you're more likely to gain weight or not be able to lose weight. It compromises your thyroid function, which controls your metabolism, so you might see you get tingling in your hands, cold hands and feet, weight gain, dry skin, might start to lose the lateral third of your eyebrows, your hair might start to thin out. All these things are signs of low thyroid that are initiated by the stress of not getting deep restorative sleep. So deep restorative sleep is the key. That's the first thing you got to get right. If you don't get that right, then you're in trouble. You really are. You've got to get that right. And you can take the 5-HTP even if you're taking prescription medications, even if you're taking antidepressants. We'll get to antacids in just a minute. But antidepressants, you can take them with 5-HTP. You might read about serotonin syndrome. I go over in great detail about that in my book. I've been using 5-HTP with my patients, and probably 95% of my patients are on antidepressants when they start working with me. They all get off of them eventually as they work with me. But initially they are on antidepressants. They all go on 5-HTP. And over the last 15 years of using 5-HTP, I can count on one hand a person's had a problem with it. And all they had to do was stop it. So yes, you can take 5-HTP with your sleep medications. The next thing you got to do is you got to fix your digestive system, because you really are only as healthy as, you hear you are what you eat, right? But really you are what you absorb. So you could be eating the healthiest diet in the world, but if you're not absorbing those nutrients, it's not going to do you any good. And what happens over the years with fibromyalgia and other chronically ill patients is, as you get sicker and sicker and further run down, your body's systems don't work like they should. So for many people with fibromyalgia, and this may be you, you start to develop GI problems like bloating and gas and reflux, or it may turn into irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, loose bowel movements, or you go back and forth, or you have this thing called malabsorption syndrome where you eat and it just sits there. You don't absorb it. So the problem with that, when that happens, is you can set up inflammatory reactions. So if you're not digesting your food, not only are you not breaking down the food and getting the needed nutrients that you got to have, but you're also, what you're seeing, you're creating the environment to set up inflammation and to set up infections. When you don't digest your food, then you can create this thing called leaky gut or intestinal permeability. And with leaky gut, you see that chemicals that normally should be contained in the intestinal tract and go through the body and then either urinate out or defecate out, they start to leak across out of the intestinal tract and get into your body, and they create inflammatory allergic reactions. And that can create pain in any tissue. It can create migraine headaches, it can create fatigue, and create anxiety and depression. You also run the risk when you're not digesting your food properly, not only do you get bloating, gas, and stomach pain, which is no fun, but it also increases the risk of getting IBS, which is definitely no fun, as you know. But you also increase the risk of things like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO, which can really give you problems. You also increase the risk of yeast overgrowth, which can cause you to have pain, lethargy, fatigue, anxiety, depression, brain fog, all those things that you don't want. So the first thing is deep restorative sleep using 5-HTP. That's where you begin, because the 5-HTP, along with the CFS Fibro formula that I'm going to talk about in a moment, that makes serotonin. And then the higher your serotonin level, the higher your pain threshold, so pain goes down. It also helps with mental clarity, helps with anxiety, helps with depression. It helps to fill up your stress coping savings account so that you can start having more stamina and resiliency to stress during the day, so it doesn't just take it out of you. You also will see that it will start to help your IBS. But you got to take a digestive enzyme. I've been doing this 20 years. I'm telling you, this is the simplest way to get on the right track, is by doing this jumpstart method. Now, it doesn't mean it solves everything, and that's why patients reach out to work with me one-on-one, or they work with me in a group coaching program. But this is a huge step in the right direction. Rather than taking a haphazard of this and that and this and that, and I heard that noni juice was good, and I'll take a B complex, and I'll take a hair, skin, and nail vitamin, I'll take CoQ10, I'll take all this. Don't do that. That's futile. That doesn't work. That's expensive, and it doesn't work. What you want to do is use a tried and true method that does work. Now again, it may not solve everything, but it puts you so far ahead of other people and where you're at now that it's a total game changer. So we talked about taking a digestive enzyme. I recommend taking pancreatic enzymes, and there's a link on here at the top where you can click on that to read more about what I recommend for my patients. You can see that. I go into more detail about that. Years ago, when I had an integrative medical practice, I had 5 medical doctors who worked for me, and we had patients that came from all over treating fibromyalgia and other conditions. And one of the things that we did years ago before it became in vogue was we did this thing called the Myers cocktail, intravenous high doses of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids, and we gave that to patients through IV therapy. And they would come from all over the Southeast, and they'd sit in the recliner for an hour and a half, and they'd get this high dose vitamin drip, and they would feel better for a few days. They'd sleep better, they had more energy, they had less pain, they'd think better, they were less depressed. All those things improved, but unfortunately it would wear off. And it was uncomfortable, it was expensive, and it was inconvenient. So 15 years ago, I set out to start designing what I thought would be the best group of supplements, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, essential fatty acids, the raw ingredients that I knew my patients needed to be able to make the stress coping chemicals that they needed, to be able to make the hormone chemicals that they needed, to be able to help to make the biochemicals, the nutrients that they needed for their body to work correctly. In the beginning, I would just send people out to a health food store and I'd say, okay, you need to get this, 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 and this. The problem with that is they would come back and they'd have like a big Santa Claus bag full of supplements. And they would have spent, hundreds of dollars, and they would come back with a bunch of junk that they didn't need. I got very, very frustrated with that. I also got frustrated with trying to work with vendors, suppliers, and say, okay, you can take this, and then this is good, and then this is good. The problem was nothing was based on fibromyalgia. There was not, and still there's not really out there now. So what I did is, rather than trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, or the other way around, square peg into a round hole, I decided this is ridiculous. My patients are, buying 12 bottles of stuff. Some of it they don't need. It's expensive. So I put together the CFS Fibro formula, which is a pack of supplements, and in the canister there are 8 pills. You open them up, and in that little packet, cellophane packet, it's got everything that my patients need to lay the foundation to start getting healthy. It's got everything they need in there, along with the other Jumpstart supplements that I'm mentioning tonight. The 5-HTP is separate. The digestive enzymes are separate. But the CFS Fibro pack in and of itself helps to dramatically reduce pain, helps to increase energy, helps with brain fog, helps with sleep, helps with IBS. It has high doses, but the right doses of magnesium would help to relax tight, achy muscles. It has malic acid. Malic acid is the spark plug of your cells. Without it, you get your cells start to slowly die and become very lethargic and run down. And how that shows up for you is you just don't feel good. You feel very, very tired. Malic acid is also need to help to push out this thing called lactic acid. Some of you may have heard of that. Lactic acid, when it builds up in the tissue, gives you those tender spots. But it also causes pain. Malic acid helps to reduce that pain. So super, super important. The amino acids that are in the CFS Fibro formula, there are 22 amino acids. 11 of those are essential. Sometimes I get that mixed up, even though I wrote the book on that. But it's been a while since I wrote that book. But those amino acids are what make certain reactions happen in your body, including you need certain amino acids called L-tyrosine to make thyroid hormone. You need certain amino acids in your body to make cortisol, DHEA, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, to make the neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, which is a pain blocker, norepinephrine, which gives you drive, energy, zip, ambition, gamma-aminobutyric acid, which is a natural anti-anxiety substance. You got to have these amino acids, and you don't get them. And no one's really taking these. But you got to have these. So that's put in the CFS Fibro formula packet to make sure you're getting those. So you can read more about that when you click that link. You can see all about the CFS Fibro. You can't shortcut that. You'd have to take 200 bottles of Centrum Silver, or 1 a day, or any of those 1 or 2 tablet a day worthless pills that are out there, because they are worthless. You can't absorb them. They have so much filler, coloring, additives that the body doesn't even absorb them. They just go right through you. So, but you would have to take 200 bottles of those to equal 1 packet of the CFS Fibro formula. Yes, the CFS Fibro is high doses. It is. It's 500 times stronger in some cases than the RDA, the recommended disease allowance. What is the RDA? It's just enough to keep you from getting scurvy or beriberi, which no one gets anymore, right? Hopefully. But it's not going to do anything. So you can take them all you want to, and they advertise them. They have the hair, skin, and nail. They got the Centrum Silver for over 50. It's worthless. It doesn't do anything. So when people take this stuff and they don't feel better, then they think that's how all supplements are, and that's not true. If you use the right doses and the right combination of supplements, you're giving your body literally the nutrients to make the biochemistry. What makes the body run? Our biochemistry, which then is in charge of or fuels our physiology, how the body reacts. But it's these chemicals that the body needs to make these hormones, to make these digestive enzymes, to make all these things. So it's super, super important that you get the right nutrients in your body. If you don't, you could take you could take a bunch of stuff that's never going to do any good. So that's why I developed the CFS Fibro formula. The last thing you've got to do, this is the fourth thing that really is part of the jumpstart. Now again, there's other things that may need to be addressed. Some of you have problems with your thyroid. Some probably have problems with food allergies and leaky gut and yeast overgrowth, and you got these issues that need to be dealt with. But if you'll do these four things, you'll see this will lay the foundation to see huge benefits, huge reductions in your symptoms, whether that's poor sleep, pain, low energy, anxiety, depression, IBS, restless leg syndrome. Oftentimes, some of those things are dramatically improved to the point that some actually go away within the first couple of weeks of starting these supplements. So the last thing you got to do is you got to start to fix your adrenal fatigue issues. So many of you got adrenal fatigue. Your stress coping glands, they don't work. So your get up and go has got up and went. And that happens because after years and years of poor sleep and being under stress, taking toxic medication, prescription drugs that have all kinds of side effects, your body eventually gets to where it can't handle stress. Now stress becomes magnified. So some of you have gotten to the point, stress is so magnified, whether that's changes in weather, loud noises, smells in a grocery store, people interacting, having a conversation, whatever it is, you can't even muster up the mental courage or physical ability to leave the house. So you become a hermit. You hibernate. It's because you can't handle any kind of stimulation. And if you do go to the grocery store, or you do go out to lunch with friends, which is rare for most people with fibromyalgia, or you do go on a vacation or trip, which most people don't because they spend 3 days of the vacation in the hotel room in bed, it's because your adrenal glands, your stress coping glands are not working correctly. So you have no stamina, no resiliency to stress. It's magnified. And as soon as you start to have maybe a good day because you're using the supplements I'm recommending and you're getting deep restorative sleep and you actually rest, you have some energy, if you overdo it, you crash. And for many people, overdoing it can be something as simple as trying to cook dinner or to vacuum the living room. I know this is the truth, right? I'm speaking the truth. I've been doing this for 20 years working with fibromyalgia patients. So the thing that you got to do, number 4, is you've got to start to fix this adrenal problem, this weakness, this fatigue. And you do that with a special product called Adrenal Cortex that I've developed over the years. This all-natural product helps your adrenal glands to be able to start to repair themselves. And what you'll see is you'll start to have more energy mentally and physically, and you'll have more stamina. So you'll find that gradually you'll be able to do more without crashing. You'll be able to do more without suffering the consequences of doing these physical or mental tasks. This is what I call the Jumpstart Protocol. This is part of the Murphree method, which I've developed over the last 20 years, which is based on, again, using high doses, but the right doses and safe doses of certain combinations of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and essential fatty acids, the very building blocks that make you and I be able to operate at optimal levels. Without these nutrients, your body does not work like it's supposed to. No one has a drug deficiency. Now, you can develop nutritional deficiencies, and everyone with fibromyalgia has them, but you don't have a drug deficiency. You cannot drug your way out of fibromyalgia. Drugs do not make you healthier. They can be helpful short term, but there's a price to pay. They all have side effects. And depending on which ones you're taking, can cost you years of your life. Certainly, if you've been on taking a bunch of medications, and my patients are taking anywhere to half a dozen to a dozen drugs when they first work with me, and then I gradually get them off as I use natural protocols to help them feel better. But they've seen that their vitality, their life energy, the more drugs that they're on and the more they've been on, they don't see that their health and vitality is going up. Do you? On these medications? No, what they see is they're getting weaker and weaker and worse and worse. That's not the case when you're taking the right combination of nutritional supplements that are designed specifically to make the biochemistry and the physiology work like it's supposed to. And this is based on 20 years of doing this. So I encourage you to click the link above. You can learn more about the Jumpstart protocol. If this resonates with you, you want to give it a try, then when you purchase the Jumpstart package, we will send you a how to take sheet that will tell you exactly how to take these things. More importantly, once you purchase these things, you now have the opportunity to start to get healthy, and you have established a relationship with my clinic. So if you've got questions about any of these products, call the clinic. That's what we're there for. You can do that. You can also go to, and this is only open for people who have positive minds. I don't want any doom and gloom. I don't want any, people who are going to complain about changes in weather and I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this. You're right. Either you can or you can't. One way or the other, you're right. I want people in the new Your Fibro Doctor page. That group, that page is for people who are ready to be proactive and do what they need to do. Now, that doesn't mean you can't complain, because we're there to help you, and so are other people there. You're going to have, but it's not for people who are not ready to take some kind of action to get better. So if that's something you're interested in, I'd also encourage you to check out that page as well. It's a much smaller page where we have a little more intimacy on that page. But I encourage you to go ahead and get the Jumpstart package tonight. We're going to send you the how to take sheets with that, and then you're going to be connected to my staff who are going to help you in your quest to feel good again. Now, for those of you, the first 5 people who purchased the Jumpstart tonight, we've got an added bonus for you. So we're going to send you, I don't know if we're going to do it on link. I always drive my staff crazy, but we're going to send you a 3-hour lecture that I did that goes over everything that I did at a Fibro Coalition program a couple years ago. But it's going to go into deep detail about how to use these protocols. So for the first 5 people tonight who order the Jumpstart pack, we're going to include that with your order. And that's a $125 gift from us. But I want you to be able to understand what you need to do. I want you to be able to do it, and I want you to feel better. And more importantly, I want you to get healthy so you stay that way. For those of you that are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and also just don't think you can figure it out, set up a consult with me. You go to fibroconsults.com. You can fill out some paperwork. We'll get in touch with you. They'll set up a consult with me. We can go through that paperwork and we can figure out what we need to do to get you feeling good again. Life is too short to waste. It's about living. Don't miss it. Don't miss out. This is Dr. Rodger Murphree, yourfibrodoctor.com, author of Treating and Beating Fibromyalgia and Chronic Fatigue Syndrome. I look forward to meeting many of you on a consult, maybe on the group page. Maybe it'll be even just next Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Thanks for joining me. Good night.